Action. We are live. Okay, perfect. Is it noon? It's got to be really close to noon. I'll wait like 30 seconds or so before we get started. But today, we got a lot to cover in a fairly short amount of time. So I'm going to try to rush on through things as fast as I can and give you as much information in as short a period as I can. Today we're going to be talking about turning tool accessories. So we're going to be covering live centers and drives. We're going to be covering turning tools. And we're also going to be covering chucks and jaws. So we're going to talk about all of them in about half of an hour total. So we could probably get started at any time here. I'm going to start here with the live centers and drives. These are Record Powers live center drives. They're all made in the UK. And we're going to get really nice and close to each one here, and I'll kind of go into detail what you're going to use the different drives for. So first,
before you get started,
yes.
People can ask questions if they want.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Please, if you have any questions, ask me questions as I'm going, and Katie will read them off to me, and I will answer them as a question comes in. So yeah, Katie, if you want to get right nice and close to these 4-prong spur drives. So these guys here, I don't know if you can see them, how well you can see them there. Those are a 4-prong spur drive here. These are kind of a standard drive that most lathes will come with. Now, a lathe will come with a drive that looks a little bit like this. You can see that. Now, what makes the Record Power ones a little bit different is there's a lot more meat on the bones here. They're a lot sharper, and they can be sharpened and used for a lot longer than a standard kind of Chinese-made one like that would be. Now, the more interesting one, these are 4-prong. These are excellent. These are probably the highest gripping power of any spur drive out there. So they are excellent for softer woods, or if your wood might be a little bit punky, things like that. 4-prong is where it's at. Now, the next row over, we have 3 6-prong drives here. Now, these are very unique to Record Power. I think they're one of the only companies that makes these. But with 6-prong, these are actually a little bit better suited to harder woods, like oak and exotics and things that are quite hard. For the same reason you use a coarse wood screw in softwood, you use a fine wood screw in hardwood, you get better gripping power on a piece of hardwood with these 6-prong drives than you would with a 4-prong. So 6-prong, really good for hardwood. Now the next row over are some of the more popular drives that we sell here. These are the multi-tooth drives, and they come in 4 different sizes. Now these are used because they look a lot different than a standard drive. A standard drive here looks a lot like a drill bit. So if your wood, if you get a catch and that the wood spins on top of this, this will actually drill itself a little bit of a hole. And best case scenario, what will happen is your piece will loosen up a little bit after your catch and you just got to retighten it. Worst case, it'll drill too big a hole and that piece could actually come loose. Where the multi-tooth drives, they're a lot different because they just have a serrated edge, a serrated ring around the outside here. So if you get a catch with a multi-tooth drive, what will happen is that drive will spin and it will just machine itself with a small little ring around your piece, but it never will drill a bigger hole or really will loosen up. So these are probably the safest drives you can use on a lathe. They still have really good holding power. They have the least holding power of any of the drives, but if you get a catch with these guys, they are the safest. So multi-tooth drives, very nice. If you don't have one already, something to consider. Now, if we go way over here, Kate, we're going to go beyond these live centers and we're going to go to these sprung point drives. Now, these guys are the same drives as, make sure you get it on the YouTube picture there too.
I'm trying to.
You're trying to get both. But these are the same multi-tooth drives, but the main difference is in the center, that little center point, my table's not very strong, but is spring loaded. And it's actually on the very back of the tool. It's adjustable with how much tension that spring has. So those are used in the same manner that a standard multi-point drive is, But if you have a piece of wood that is prone to splitting, or you have a glue joint, you can put that sprung point right on the glue joint, and there's far less risk of splitting that wood using those sprung point drives. So those are very, very cool. And again, all these drives and live centers are made in the UK. So if we go over now to the live centers here, these are the two UK made live centers that Record Power sells. We got a standard 60-degree cone and a cup live center. 60-degree cone is kind of a traditional live center that a lot of lathes will come with and a lot of people will use. A cup live center, again, it's a little bit less likely to split woods and things like that because it's got a cup around the outside. Now, a live center that would come with your lathe would look a lot like this, oftentimes. A single bearing, and that bearing is exposed actually to the sawdust in the wood. What makes the Record Power live centers a little bit different, if you look on top, they're quite wide at the base here. There's an axle in there with two bearings, which is spread out. So that's going to have a lot of strength, and that's going to last a long time. And because of the way it's designed, this outside here almost acts like a shield. So those bearings, while you can see them from the back, they are shielded from the front where most of the sawdust is going to be. So that will make them a nice, long-lasting live center. Now, the probably coolest live center that they have is this guy. Whoopsies, right here. This is a multi-point live center. Now, just like this, it makes for a really nice cup center. But you can put different centers in here to do different things. So there it becomes a standard 60-degree cone center. Comes with this knockout bar. And the knockout bar is long enough, you can knock these centers out even if you have it in your tailstock. You also have this center here. Now this is a smaller version of a cup center, but also a pen mandrel will fit right in the center there. So that would mean rather than pinching the pen mandrel and having to worry about it potentially bending a little bit, the mandrel can just ride in there and it's going to stay nice and straight. They also have this guy, which is an extended tip. Now that's a 90-degree bevel rather than a 60 and extended tip. So if you're working on a very small project, that keeps the wood away from the live center. But also with that 90-degree tip, it's, again, less likely to split the wood and still does a really good job of holding it. And the final one, this is the same profile as their multi-tooth drives, but that is a really strong or high holding live center. It's going to have the best holding of any of the live centers there because of all the teeth. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is the profile matches the multi-tooth drives of the same size. So if you're flipping a piece end to end, it's really easy to line up exactly where you had it before. And then you can just pop that out. And it's back to a standard cone center there. So that is their multi-tooth, their Falcon. It comes in a box just like this with all the different centers there. Now, all the centers are in the UK, and right now they are 20% off their regular price. So let's include all these drives, including the multi-tooth. So you can check that out on our website. If anybody has any questions on the centers, let me know. Now is a great time because I'm going to move on really quick to the turning tools, and I'll kind of give a brief description of what Record Power offers here. So I'll get right into it. Record Power, also UK-made turning tools just outside of Sheffield. If you guys are familiar with Sheffield steel, that's what these are. So they're using the original Sheffield techniques to make their turning tools, but with modern equipment, essentially. So all these tools are high-speed steel, M2 high-speed steel. So the way they're made, like a turning gouge here, they take the steel rod, they're machining it. They are, now I don't know what order they do this all in, but they heat it up to a really high heat, about 1,000 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. I'm not 100%. And then at the end, they give it a salt bath. And then every tool from factory is sharpened with a traditional grind. And they also have a European beech handle. So they make a full range from roughing gouges to spindle gouges, bowl gouges, scrapers, parting tools. On their larger tools, they offer them in a 12-inch or a 16-inch handle. The 16-inch handles are quite popular on the large bowl gouges and the large roughing gouges. The other thing that's kind of interesting, they have a extra wide aluminum ferrule on there. And when they insert the steel into the handle here, it goes significantly further than you'll see on some of the less expensive turning tools out there. So this is a nice high-end UK made Sheffield steel tool. But the really exciting part about them is they are actually quite reasonably priced compared to a lot of other turning tools out there. For instance, a 1/2-inch bowl gouge with a 16-inch handle is about $100 regular price, I believe, which is quite reasonable. Now, the one thing I should mention, they do measure their tools a little bit different in the UK than we do here in North America. If you look really carefully at that gouge, this here is a 3/8 gouge, what Record Power says. Now, in North America, we usually measure the diameter of this rod. So this would actually be what we would call a 1/2-inch gouge. But the way Record Power measures it is from the inside of the flute to the outside diameter of the steel. So that's where they get 3/8. But a lot of North American manufacturers would call this 1/2-inch, where Record Power's 1/2-inch bowl gouge is actually more like a 5/8. So something just to consider. Same is true on their spindle gouges, same is true on their roughing gouges. Now the roughing gouges are kind of cool in their own right. They actually start and they are laser cut. So you can actually go online and see some of their make an 1.25 inch or 1.5 inch, depending what country you're from, roughing gouge with a 16-inch handle. That is incredibly popular. Very, very nice tool for a very reasonable price, actually. So again, yeah, any questions at all on the turning tools, let me know. Sorry, I'm rushing through.
They come in sets.
They come in sets as well, yes. So these are all the singles. They also come in a spindle set where you get a roughing gouge, you get a spindle gouge, and you also get a parting tool. There is a bowl turning set where you get a bowl gouge, you get a round nose scraper, and then you also get a larger 3/16 parting tool, which a lot of folks will use to turn the tenon on the back of their bowl. And then there's a 6-piece set where you get a bowl gouge, a roughing gouge, a spindle gouge, a skew, a round nose scraper, and a parting tool. Pretty much every tool you need to get started into wood turning comes in that 6-piece set. And they do have their 5-year warranty. And yeah, it looks like you have a question, Katie.
Well, no, Record Power is tuning in here,
Okay,
and they
yeah.
just want you to make sure that you don't forget to mention that the Rockwell hardness.
Yes. Sorry, I haven't. Craig gave me a little list this morning, but they are an M2 high-speed steel with a Rockwell hardness of 60 to 64. What that means, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know they kind of blur the line. They're still easy to sharp, and they are nice and hard, so they retain their edge quite long. But they're not so hard that they become brittle and break and are challenging to sharpen. So yeah, they're 60 to 64 M2 high-speed steel. If you have more questions specifically about the steel, you can ask Record Power, and they will be able to answer.
And Record, if Ethan forgets anything else.
Just let me know. I'm happy to touch on it here. So, that's the turning tools. I think we'll jump right in. How are we doing on time? Can you tell me?
Yeah, we're at just about 15 minutes, so you're good.
Okay, so that'll leave enough time. There's a lot of Chuck stuff, but we'll get through it here. So Record Power has 2 main chucks that they offer. They have the SC3 and the SC4. Now, it may not seem like it, but both these chucks have the exact same holding power. They take, so they're very, very similar in a lot of ways. So this whole range of jaws you see right here will fit in either chuck. Now, the SC3 is about a $200 chuck. Main differences between the SC3, SC4. The SC3 you can see is open on the back, which is common of a lot of chucks. And it also uses a chuck key that looks like this, that will slide right in there like that. So that's how you open and close the chuck. Now, one thing that is very important to note, all the Wrecker Power chucks are righty-tighty and lefty-loosey. There are some chucks out there that are not that way, but Wrecker Power has made their chucks so they're righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, just as it makes sense that it would be. So the SC3 is open on the back. You use a chuck key like that, and right here, that is a direct thread. So if you have, this is an 1¼ inch thread on this right now. This would fit on an 1¼ inch lathe, but that can never be changed unless you get a special adapter that's aftermarket. Now, the SC4 is the same in so many ways, but one, it is sealed on the back, so it tends to stay a little bit cleaner. Less often will you have to clean that out. It has an insert on the back. It's stuck in there right now, but you could change that insert. And so if you have multiple lathes or you get a different lathe in the future, you can switch that insert up to fit on different machines. And rather than a standard chuck key, it uses a hex key with a ball end. Now I forgot to grab mine. I'm just going to quickly take this out. Put it back in the bag later. But you use a ball-ended hex key. So the really cool thing is if you have a large platter and that chuck key gets in the way and hits that platter, you can move that just like that and you're still able to tighten things up. So that's quite nice there too. So the big deal with the jaws, that's kind of interesting. Wrecker Power may not have as many jaws as some manufacturers. The reason being, they've combined a number of their jaws together. So in general, a Wrecker Power jaw has more features than a lot of other brands where it can do different things all in the same jaw. The other thing that's kind of interesting, Wrecker Power chuck, if you have a Nova chuck or Nova jaws, they will fit on the Wrecker Power jaws or chucks and vice versa. So Nova and Wrecker can share jaws if you already have some Nova stuff. But they have a really good range of jaws all the way from their standard bowl jaws, their remounting jaws for doing the back of the bowl. They have these faceplate rings, so that's a faceplate that will go right in the jaw and held by the jaw, so you don't have to take the chuck off to use a faceplate. They have soft jaws that you can actually machine to any profile you want if you're working on a specialty project. They got pen jaws for drilling pen blanks. They got spigot jaws and long nose jaws for candlesticks and things like that. So a really good range. And on pretty much every one of their chucks, there's a dovetail on the outside as well as the inside. So there's multiple ways to use the chucks. So there's a really nice variety there. When you buy a chuck, they come in a kit. So if I were to buy the SC3, comes with the 50mm jaws, comes with a woodworm screw, comes with a chuck key, and it also comes with a 2-inch faceplate ring right off the bat. Now there are some special deals right now that you'll see on our website where if you buy a chuck, it includes a handful of jaws. There's different packages available. And if you buy it with the jaws, the whole setup there is then 15% off, which is nice. And the other thing I forgot to mention, the turning tools themselves are 10% off right now, and that includes the sets as well. So that's the SC3, SC4. Those are the most popular chucks that Wrecker Power sells, but they also have they're mini chucks. So they have an SC1 and an SC2. These are significantly smaller than their main range, but they have kind of a special jaw range designed for small projects. So the SC2, just like the SC3, is an open back. It is also direct thread. So a lot of similarities are shared with the SC2. This is the more popular mini chuck that we sell. There's also the SC1, just like the SC4. It's sealed on the back and it has an insert, so you can use that on different lathes if you want. Now, the other interesting thing about the SC3 is it has...
SC2.
SC2, sorry. It has a slightly larger range that these jaw glides will move. So there's a little bit more range of things that you can grip with the SC2 that you can't with the SC1, though the SC1 is a little bit smaller diameter, which can be handy for certain applications. Now, the most unique jaw that the mini chucks have is definitely the dome jaws here. They are designed to hold, if your knuckles just accidentally get a little bit too close, they're not going to tear a big hunk out of your knuckles. They're fairly gentle if you accidentally touch them. So they are the dome jaws. They are the most popular jaws that we sell for the mini chucks. And in mini chucks, there's also some sets, some kits available that include some jaws. There's a pen turning kit available. There's all sorts of things that you'll see on our website that if you buy the kit, it is 15% off. Yeah, so turning tools, 10% off. Drives and centers are 20% off, I believe, which is a really good deal. So, and the other thing I should mention, these little stoppers right here for the remounting jaws, we sell a lot of these separately for guys with different brands because they're very unique. So if I take this one, I'll take one right out here.
If anybody has any questions, just feel free to pop them up on the screen and Ethan can answer those before we finish up here.
Absolutely. So if we look at that, that is a sort of a square shape. On this side, they have a 6-inch outside radius. On this side is a 12-inch outside radius. This side is a 6-inch, this is a 6-inch inside radius, and this is a 12-inch inside radius. So, and then if you look at the side, they are profiled. So compared to many other types of buttons that you put on your jaws, these have a ton of surface area that your bowl will be held by. So these are some of the nicest buttons that you can get for button jaws, cold jaws, jumbo jaws, remounting jaws, whatever you want to call them.
Are those also on sale, or are they?
I don't think they're on sale.
But they're available.
They're not that expensive anyway, but
yeah,
they are quite cool. They're probably one of the more popular jaw things that we sell. So we're going to be bringing a whole bunch of those to the Hamilton Wood Show, which is not this weekend, but next weekend.
And the wood show is also online.
It is also online virtually, so if you're not local to Caledonia or Hamilton, you can come virtually, and you're going to get the exact same deals that are available at the show, at least from us. We're going to be offering the same deals on sandpaper and glue and all those things to virtual people. Now, the Record Power sales are going to be the exact same that I just mentioned here at the show. So if you're going to go to the show, you can pick the stuff up there. It's going to be an excellent deal there as well.
And we have a showroom, which you can come and see us in and see these things in person.
Absolutely.
But we are going to have some limited hours next week with the show.
Absolutely true. So yeah, that's pretty much the range of turning tools that Record Power has. There are some really great deals right now, but even when there's not sales going on, they are very competitively priced, which is quite nice, especially, honestly, on their turning tools. Their turning tools are a very good price for the quality they are. Yeah, so you can take another look at that then. So tomorrow is going to be our final little live deep dive I'm going to be talking about the Regent lathe. That's the biggest lathe that Record Power has. It's also on sale for the winter promotion. And it will also be at the Hamilton Wood Show, but we'll do a little deep dive into the Regent. So if anybody wants to see more about the Regent, that is a great place to be. Tomorrow at noon as well.
And bring your questions.
Bring your questions. If anybody has any questions, I'll be here for about another 30 seconds or so. And then we will call it and everybody can...
And all of
Yeah,
these
that's
things
okay.
that you just mentioned, they're available for to be shipped.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, they're all available to be shipped as well. Yeah, so yeah, we'll call it here. You can, if you have any questions after the fact, don't be afraid to send us a direct message or email. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow, and I hope to see you at the wood show. Not this weekend, but next weekend.
And thanks for everybody for being here.
Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, unlive it. There you go.